And now I'm going to go back to where I started my conversation with you, which was about the flight of jobs. Now, of course, when we first, as a multinational company, decide to outsource jobs to India in the R&D, what we are going to do is we are going to outsource the bottom rung of the ladder to India, the least sophisticated jobs, just like Tom Friedman would predict. Now, what happens is, when you outsource the bottom rung of the ladder to India for innovation and for R&D work, at some stage in the very near future, you're going to have to confront a problem, which is, where does the next step of the ladder people come from within your company? So you have two choices then. Either you bring the people from India into the developed world to take positions in the next step of the ladder, immigration, or you say there are so many people in the bottom step of the ladder waiting to take the next position in India, why don't we move the next step to India? What we are trying to say is that once you outsource the bottom end of the ladder, it's a self-perpetuating act because of the sinking skill ladder. And a sinking skill ladder is simply the point that you can't be an investment banker without having been an analyst once. You can't be a professor without having been a student. You can't be a consultant without having been a research associate. So if you outsource the least sophisticated jobs, at some stage, the next step of the ladder has to follow. The second thing we bring up is what we call the browning of the TMT, the top management teams. If the R&D talent is going to be based out of India and China, and the largest growth markets are going to be based out of India and China, you have to confront the problem that your top management of the future is going to have to come out of India and China. Because that's where the product leadership is, that's where the important market leadership is. Right? And the last thing we point out in this slide, which is, that to this story, there's one caveat. India has the youngest growing population in the world. This demographic dividend is incredible, but paradoxically, there's also the mirage of mighty labor pools. Indian institutes and educational system, with a few exceptions, are incapable of producing students in the quantity and quality needed to keep this innovation engine going. So companies are finding innovative ways to overcome this, but in the end, it does not absolve the government of the responsibility for creating this educational structure. So finally, I want to conclude by showing you the profile of one company, IBM. As many of you know, IBM has always been considered for the last 100 years to be one of the most innovative companies. In fact, if you look at the number of patents filed over history, I think they are in the top or the top 2 or 3 companies in the world of all patents filed in the USA as a private company. Here is the profile of employees of IBM over the last decade. In 2003, they had 300,000 employees or 330,000 employees, out of which 135,000 were in America, 9,000 were in India. In 2009, they had 400,000 employees, by which time the US employees had moved to 105,000, whereas the Indian employees had gone to 100,000. Well, in 2010, they decided they're not going to reveal this data anymore. So I had to make some estimates based on various sources. Here are my best guesses. Okay, I'm not saying this is the exact number. It's my best guess. It gives you a sense of the trend. There are 433,000 people now at IBM, out of which 98,000 are remaining in the US and 150,000 are in India. So you tell me, is IBM an American company or an Indian company? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.